Right, Lisa, thank you for joining us this morning. So, if you think way back to your presidency last year, what were your most memorable experiences while you were serving as president?
Actually, it was lecturing at and attending the Residence Symposium during my president year. It was just great to see how enthusiastic the young dermatologists to be are and how much they actually admired the position of president. Like, they treated me like a president. It was awesome. And it was great to be able to teach them and
Did it
watch
just
them.
kind of dawn on you at that point, like where you were in your career? And looking back, seeing yourself as a resident, or?
Yeah, it was sort of bittersweet, because you can't but help think back to when it was you at that stage. And I remember clearly looking at the president of the ASDS and thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if they would talk to me, I have questions. I think they have challenges, though, that we didn't face. And I think a lot of them are very scared. And it felt good to be able to say to them, you still have a path. You have a very clear path, and the ASDS is totally here to help you.
What kind of issues do you think they're facing now that are frightening more than when we went through?
I think the two main issues are the non-physician practice of medicine and private equity buying out practices and really changing the landscape for them.
So what do you think the biggest issues facing the ASDS were during your presidency?
I think they're still the same issues. I think there's a lot in truth in advertising and advocacy that we have work to do on. I was very surprised as president how hard it is to move that needle. Especially truth in advertising. I thought that was going to be my platform and I was going to change things. And I practice medicine in 2 different states. I actually hold licenses in 4, and I was all about, I'm going to start with these states. And it's really hard to get anything done. If I had one thing that I could tell all the young dermatologists out there is that we're trying. It may seem like we're not doing anything. We're actually doing a ton behind the scenes. It's really hard to move that needle.
Absolutely. So, next question is pretty similar, but talking more about the technology, what are the most important advances and innovations in technology going on right now in the society?
I actually think what you presented at the innovations lecture was really amazing. I mean, some of the things that are being done maybe on the cosmetic, they start out as sort of, well, wouldn't this be great for skin rejuvenation? And then you see that there's an immune reaction in the skin, and then you think, oh my gosh, we could use this like this. Some of the stuff that Roxy Anderson is doing, looking at how to minimize donor sites for scars, and where that has kind of led in innovations in the cosmetic. So it can go back and forth, in both ways. I like seeing that. I like seeing how things like lasers are now being used for delivery systems. We're using things that are already around in very unique and innovative ways, and it's being done by most of our members.
So back to the beginning of your career, how'd you get interested in dermatology and dermatologic surgery?
I actually was going to be a dermatopathologist, and through a series of just unfortunate events, fellowship director moving, changing programs, grants falling through, I was sort of floundering. But luckily, I trained at Tulane, and so we had a really robust cosmetic surgery clinic for residents. So as all this was sort of falling apart, my dermatopathology future, I was really interested in what was happening in the cosmetic arena. We were doing liposuction, we were actually doing facelifts, lasers were in their infancy, hair transplants, and I was so interested in it, I was sort of glad that the other path fell through, and I just sort of went with the cosmetic innovations, and here I am.
No pun intended with the path.
Exactly, the path away from path.
And who were your early role models?
Oh gosh, I had some wonderful role models, and I would say Bill Coleman was my role model, as well as many people who came out of Tulane to go on to not only lecture and write and publish, but also have leadership positions in the society and in other societies. I mean, he was really amazing. And then as an early career dermatologist, Rhoda Nairns. She really took me under her wing, and in gratitude to both of them, I try to do the same. And I can proudly say that I've mentored some people that are just amazing and are going to make a big difference in the future of the society.
Yeah. It was interesting, we just had Rhoda in here, and she talked about how she was had to really break some barriers as being like the first woman to get accepted into surgical programs and do different things, and that she really tries to help, bring along other women and foster that. And you look at where the society is today, and it's changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Where there are now more females than males.
Right, more females.
That's awesome. So, looking back in your career, is there anything that you would do differently?
Oh, you don't want to know that. Yeah, I think if I had to do my practice over, I think that I wouldn't have gone the safe route. I would have taken a chance, started my own practice, and really, there was a lot of energy early in my career put into someone else's practice while I was building up mine, and the benefits were not all for me. And I think finances were a big stumbling block for me starting out, and that was the easy way to go. But I looking back, I probably would have done it differently, but who knows? Hindsight is everything, right?
So what advice would you give today's young dermatologic surgeons?
To advocate on their behalf, to not expect someone else to do it for you. I think there's a misconception that a lot of the educational societies like the ASDS are policying, or what's the word I want to use? Policing societies, that they're going after people who are falsely representing themselves. And I think the ASDS has a place in advocacy, and we work very hard at it, but the best advocate is the young dermatologists for themselves, and to get their patients involved in advocating for their specialty.
That's a lot. And what are your predictions for the future of the specialty?
I'm worried actually about the future of medicine in general. I'm worried that there won't be MDs anymore. I mean, why would somebody go to medical school for 4 years and do a residency when physician's assistants or nurse practitioners are going to have the same ability to open up their practices, treat patients, hospital privileges? I'm scared about the future of medicine in general. I think as dermatologists, we just need to elevate ourselves as physician practicing dermatologists, and we need to get some distinction with the public as to what a doctor is, and not just someone who has a PhD behind their name and calls themselves doctor, what an MD or DO is. I don't know. What do you think's going to happen?
What do you think the best thing that we can, what things can we do to help prevent that or minimize that from happening?
Well, I think the ASDS has a really good plan in place to increase awareness, public awareness of what it means to be treated by an ASDS member, board-certified dermatologist. We have campaigns that are going to actually be scare tactic campaigns to show the public that really bad things can happen in the hands of people who aren't trained well. And I hope those are the first step in public recognition of what it means. And there needs to be some sort of a paradigm shift. And I think one of the issues facing is the rise of influencers who have no degree behind their name. But I actually think that's going to go away. Things can only sustain themselves for so long. I don't know what the next thing will be, but I'm pretty sure we'll be poised and ready to be there.
Yeah, I guess that's the last question is what advice do you have for the ASDS leadership in serving its membership in the future?
Just to think out of the box. One of the things that does worry me about organizations is they tend to mimic what's already happening. So you see someone like a social influencer and you say, oh, well, we have to be a louder voice. And of course we do. But then we're still in the same arena. I would like us to think of a different arena. Think something that hasn't been started before. I mean, social media started before when people were doing print ads or advertising on the radio. And then all of a sudden social media started. What is the next thing? I don't know what it is, but I hope our leaders will know and be there first.